This NFL Picks Week 6 edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code SGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hey, this is Derek Stevens. I'm the owner of Circa Las Vegas. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox.
He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
Greetings, Sean. Greetings, gambling gods. Greetings, civilians and regular humans out there that don't believe in gambling gods.
Yes, we got a lot to get to. NFL Week 6 picks. It is, feeling pretty good. Not an amazing week. Again, obviously, you calling out the gambling gods hurt our overall record. But
what do you mean?
I mean,
100-1 on a first touchdown, that kind of pain.
No,
a double fucking bank on a 2 touchdown segment on VSiN.
We did make it up. We did make it up in the props, but overall ATS not amazing, but the 2 touchdown was pretty awesome. I had hit Tank Bigsby, you hit Roshan Johnson. I know some of our listeners parlayed those together for 1,000-1 parlay.
So
then I immediately was kicking myself for not also doing it.
So 1,000-1 and 100-1.
Yes.
And you're worried about some gods?
Yeah, I just don't think we need to spit in their face. You can choose.
I'm not spitting.
Yeah, right. You were Hawk 2 in the gambling gods.
It's true. I was lubricating.
There's just no place for it. No need. Shout out to everyone tossing us 5 stars on Spotify, Ryan. We're up to like 26 in the charts. I tweeted out a little graphic coming for some of these podcasts. We higher than Ryan Russillo, higher than these are the Spotify sports podcast charts. But we just beat out Matthew Perry's Fantasy Hour, Stu Gotts, Dan Levitard.
Excuse me.
And nipping, Colin Cowherd could be next because we're 26, they're 25th. We're coming for you. Shout out to the listeners. It only takes 5 seconds to leave 5 stars on Spotify. Always appreciate that.
Which one of us is the fruity sidekick?
I don't know. Is that Dan Levitard?
No, that's Colin Cowherd.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched Cowherd in a while. I'll have to check it out.
Fruity is meant to be a compliment.
Yes,
here, yeah.
So, Ryan, spicy is the term kids use in today's language.
Yeah, he's less spicy. He's more sweet.
And then of course, mountainprojects.org. We're continuing to raise money for Hurricane Helene. Obviously another hurricane coming right around the corner. So mountainprojects.org, hit that disaster relief flood support button, put in SGPN because we're going to hook up the biggest donation. We got 2 listeners tied for 500. So maybe you're feeling generous, want to drop a nice big donation. I know we will appreciate that, and they will as well. So appreciate all the support. Right, we're gonna get to all the picks ATS as we've done every week since 2011. But joining us, we had some news break earlier in the week. Big NFL news. Robert Saleh is out. And joining us to talk about Robert Saleh, all things National Football League. You know him, you love him, Mr. Scott Reichel. What's happening, Scott?
Yeah, doing pretty well. How's it going with you guys?
Yeah, doing good. Scott hosts about 9 podcasts for us. Tennis gambling podcast, WNBA, regular NBA, MLB, kind of does it all. But Scott, do you remember where you were when you heard the news Robert Saleh would no longer be coaching your New York Jets?
Believe it or not, yes. I believe you can guess where I was. I woke up from a nap. And so you knew exactly the answer before you asked the question. But yeah, I was a bit surprised, but to be honest, I was relieved that he was fired. I'm sure most Jets fans would feel the same way. I'm sure we're going to talk about it a bit more in depth in a second, but I do find it fascinating how quickly the media will shift the narrative because I think everybody thought that Saleh was an atrocious head coach. He was 20-36. I remember in week 1, I made a comment on Twitter about how it looked like Shanahan was coaching circles around him. I know you agreed with me. And then everyone kind of just forgot about it. And then he got fired. And everyone's like, I can't believe they did this to Robert Saleh. He was 20-36, but it wasn't his fault at all. I mean, how could anybody succeed with the Jets? Like, I understand the Jets organizationally are not exactly a well-run, actual, I guess you could say company organization in general, but now we're all pretending that Saleh wasn't a totally bad coach. Like, when did that narrative switch?
Yeah, no, I mean, he is the classic. He probably will end up being a good defensive coordinator again at some point, and the defense was playing well. So I think people that are trying to make excuses for him are like, well, Aaron Rodgers was playing like shit, and Nathaniel Hackett is there now. Supposedly, what the rumor was, someone reported that. He didn't think he was going to get fired. He told Nathaniel Hackett that Nathaniel Hackett's no longer calling plays. 5 minutes later, he gets a message saying, "Come see me in my office," from the owner, and that's when he got the axe. But to your point, Scott, like, yeah, they probably should have done this move in between the season. I don't know why you pulled the trigger this early in season would be one question, but yeah, it's not like in what situations was Robert Saleh like out coaching these other teams? And yeah, you gave him a pass because Aaron Rodgers blew out his Achilles last year, but this year, like, come on, you're managing these offensive coordinators, you're overseeing the play calling. At some point, your win-loss record is your win-loss record. I don't know, how does the GM still have a job though, Scott? Because Joe Douglas has like an equal win-loss record. When do you think Joe Douglas gets the axe?
It's a great question because Douglas has made some swings. Some have worked, some have not. Yeah. Overall, as a drafter, he's been fine. But there's a massive, I'd say elephant in the room, which is the Zach Wilson pick. And he completely whiffed it. Now, the counterpoint in his defense is that hindsight aged pretty well because every quarterback that was available at that point basically turned out to not be any good. So I don't know if it would have worked anyway, but the point is with a top pick like that, he swung and a miss, but you're looking at the rest of the picks he's made, he has hit on a lot of players. So I think that he's actually done a pretty decent job with the overall roster. The Rodgers situation, I do wonder how much of these big blockbuster moves are owner pressured, where Woody Johnson decides, you know what, I own this team.
Yeah.
A lot of people think he's not a great owner, but we haven't made the playoffs in like 15 something years. Let's try to just get a splash move. Maybe we just need a quarterback that can get it done. And they force the GM's hand. I think Douglas has done a fine job. Do I think he could have done better? Of course. But I think that there are worse GMs out there. I think we'd agree on that. I'm sure Kramer can agree on that. But I think there are some bad GMs in the league. Point is, though, I do think when you're looking at the overall, I'd say, hindsight or just trying to look at it from an unbiased perspective, you mentioned that Saleh was overseeing stuff. That's kind of the point. What exactly does he do? Yeah. Because most coaches tend to at least handle some play calling opportunities for either offense or defense. Saleh hasn't called plays. So you can make an argument during game day. What exactly does he do? Because their new interim coach, Albrecht, actually does call the plays for the defense. So people were giving Saleh a ton of praise, going, look what he did with this defense. He's done a great job. It's not his fault the offense is bad. It actually kind of is, because if you're not calling defensive plays and you've delegated the responsibility so you can oversee everything else, and your entire team is undisciplined, you led the league in penalties last year, you're top 6 in penalties again this year, I don't know what he actually does besides run the stairs before games. I'm going to ask you, what exactly does he do in games?
It is one of those things where it's not like he's doing the defensive play calling. He has a guy that's doing that. And even just look at who they assigned as the head coach. It's not like they went and gave the. I mean, I was praying that Nathaniel Hackett was going to be the head coach.
Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach would have been an awesome auto.
But they give it to the defensive guy, which is even more of kind of to alluding to what Scott's saying, which is, what are you doing if you're not helping the offense and you're not involved in the defense?
You're in the Nick Sirianni zone where you don't have. You're kind of responsible for. everything else. And when everything else looks pretty shitty, and this Jets team does have a talented roster. I mean, if I was the GM, I would just keep reminding everyone: Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson were my draft picks. Breece Hall was a draft pick. So, the top of the draft, he's held his weight there. I don't think the roster is the issue. It does seem like play calling, the offense, maybe the style of the offense, not running enough hurry up.
First 5 games last year, they were 2-3. They scored 93 points. They gave up 105 points. This was without Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Remember, that catastrophic moment when Underdog completely mushed him with over half yard passing in that first game. Disastrous. Well, this year with Aaron Rodgers, Sean, they're 2-3. They've scored 93 points, and they've only given up 85. So,
well, it's so funny, and I fell into it a little bit too, where you go, look, if you take this Jets team, Aaron Rodgers has to be better than Zach Wilson, so their offense has to be better. Unfortunately, the NFL is just not a plug and play system, and it's not that easy. But Scott, where did the Jets go from here? I don't think anyone has ever. I read a nugget.
Bill Belichick, right?
Yeah, well, maybe. No one has ever fired a coach mid-season and made the playoffs. But again, this is certainly an outlier of firing a head coach this early with this amount of talent. How do you see the rest of the Jets season shaking out? What do you make of the interim head coach? Where are you at as a Jets fan here?
So overall, I like Ulbrich. I don't mind him. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. Now, I do want to point out some quotes. CJ Mosley's been a captain on this team for a couple of years. He had some quotes because right after you ended up escorting Saleh from the premises, so he couldn't speak to the team, which is extremely weird. That's all a separate can of worms. But point is, once Ulbrich actually spoke to the team, they kind of had a meeting, and Mosley talked about it. So he said, quote, "The main thing that I heard a lot yesterday was accountability. That's what we have to keep in mind going forward. We have to be accountable every day when we come to the building, every single day when we wake up, every decision that's made within the organization, especially our team. We all have to have some kind of accountability." And then he finished the quote by saying, "I think this was definitely a wake-up call and an eye-opener for a lot of people. Probably a sign that I don't think he was intentionally throwing Saleh under the bus, but I think that kind of touches on what I said with the penalty issues. There's been a lack of discipline in place for a long time, and it seems like Ulbrich, with how he handles the defense, is going to bring some type of more, I'd say, rigid structure, which I think this team needs. Now, of course, it's tough to implement mid-season, especially when you're facing off against the Bills for a shot at first place on Monday night in your first game, which is kind of a weird spot.
AFC East is a real shit show now. So you guys might win the division at 8 and 9 if things keep trending this way. And you're right.
I was going to say, I just wanted to quickly touch on that's also why I think they made this move. You asked me earlier why they didn't fire him during the offseason. They should have, let's be real. But the point is, you might be wondering why now would they fire? The reason is because I think that they look at the actual division and Buffalo kind of imploding and looking at Tua being injured, looking at New England rebuilding. They can win this division. As dumb as it sounds, this division isn't any good. And Buffalo looked like they were peaking a couple weeks ago. Then Baltimore destroyed them, and you had whatever that finale was against the Texans in that fourth quarter. Point is, though, the argument of why they made the move, I think they realized that they can win the division, but they couldn't do it under Saleh. So it's a last-ditch effort, a breaking case of emergency situation where maybe you make a move and you provide a spark. Maybe that's enough to get by. Is it? I don't know, but I think that's why they made the move. It's because they think they can win the division.
So they the owner swoops in, fires the head coach after talking to the star quarterback, but the unrelated,
and then
to the firing. Takes to the media.
Pure coincidence, you know.
Then takes to the media and says, "Quote Hassan, get in your car, drive down I-95, and come to the New York Jets." Quote, end quote.
Really? So they're gonna figure out the Hassan Reddick thing now?
He didn't say that. He just said show up. He didn't say they're gonna figure out anything.
The owner's pleading with him to come home.
Yeah, that I don't know who to blame on that. That does, again, that feels like a bad look for Joe Douglas trading for a guy that
the owner's getting involved in all assets of the so that CJ Mosley quote about this is a wake up call. Clearly the owners. It's going to be one of those where on Friday about 5:30 the boss walks around the office. See who's still at his desk.
Yeah,
that's the kind of treatment they're going to get from Woody Johnson now. So I would imagine this is a positive in the betting market.
I just want to say, I want to just touch on one thing. I do want to ask you what the immediate reaction that people have had to the Saleh situation. Is the issue that he got fired mid-season, or is the issue that he got fired and Hackett got to keep his job? Because I think that if Hackett
Yeah.
would have been fired with Saleh, I don't think anybody really would have reacted that strongly to it. I think it's the fact that he got thrown under the bus, basically, or it appears that way, and Rodgers' best friend keeps his job. I think that's the bigger issue at play.
Football's a like the military. The guy you rarely get a chance to fire the guys beneath you first, and if you do, that's like the last chance. With Saleh, it's like, yeah, you got to. It makes sense that he has to get
the
taken
general.
down first.
Yeah, the general has to fall on the sword, and I'm with you, Scott. Like, I think it's just an optics thing of the fact that Hackett is still in the building, and everyone knows, oh, Hackett is Rodgers' guy. Blah blah blah. He must have been involved. I think that's where everyone's jumping to that conclusion. But I think there's also a logistics of like, hey, we can't fire the head coach and offensive coordinator midweek. Like, we legit have a game to prepare for.
Yeah.
It does sound like he's not going to have play calling duties, and supposedly Rodgers is okay with that. So I don't know. I do think in the short term they get a nice bump. But we'll see how long that like discipline everyone in line lasts.
I worked for a guy who used to say, if the first thing you can say about someone is that they're a nice guy, they suck at their job. And I think that's Robert Saleh.
Yeah. Unfortunately, seems like a great guy, great father, great cardio.
Was a good D coordinator.
But yeah, we see this all the time. It's a different gene of being an NFL head coach versus a coordinator.
And we got to start tracking coaches that do cardio at the stadium.
What their records
It's
are.
not good. Yeah. It's not good.
They're exhausted by the fourth quarter. How can they make any adjustments?
I mean, think about it. The best NFL coaches are in the worst shape. Look at Andy Reid. You think he's running stairs? I mean, Bill Belichick. He was okay shape, but he had a decent sized gun. He wasn't doing cardio before the game. He was reviewing the Jets practice tapes.
Imagine Andy Reid running the stadium stairs before the game.
Oh
Get the fuck out of here.
Be escorting them out. All right, Scott. Before we let you go, what do you like for NFL Week 6? I'm sure you got some plays. I'm sure you got some no leans. We don't allow those on the show, but what do you got?
I know the rules.
Yeah. What do you got picks wise for us?
So I'm going to stick with the actual Jets game because it's the theme of my appearance on the show here. It's a Monday night game. Both teams are kind of falling apart, or I should say they are in the middle of some turmoil for different reasons. Kind of both involve coaching, but for different reasons, I guess. For this one, though, I am going to go with I like the under in the game in general. I think it's going to be a pretty ugly game.
Yep.
Give me the field goal props again. You know, it's my favorite D-Gen play. I'm going with Bass. I'll go with the over 1.5 field goals in this one. Jets' red zone defense has been fantastic. You're looking at the Jets. They're actually allowing the 6th fewest touchdowns per red zone appearance for opponents. So I do think that they might result in a couple field goals. Bass, though, has been solid against this team in years past. To go through it, Bass has recorded at least 2 field goals in 3 straight. 4 of the last 5, and if you want to go back even further, he tends to kick at least 2. I think Buffalo can move the ball in this game. I don't know if Allen has a concussion or not. We don't really know if he does or not, but 9 for 30 kind of speaks for itself. Point is, though, I think that they're going to kick some field goals in this game. Kicker props have been good to me. I know I cashed one on the Thursday night game for the Buccaneers Falcons. Shout out to McLaughlin. I'll go back to it. Give me Bass over 1.5 field goals.
I love this. I love Scott coming in. I'm like, Scott, give us a play after we talk Jets. Anything, side, total, prop, whatever, comes to us with a sweet kicker prop. Also, I do like. I'm with you on the under there for that game. It does feel like both offenses aren't going to be cooking, and yeah, good spot there. Scott, always appreciate you hopping on. Make sure you follow Scott on X at Rice Shell Radio. Check out all his podcasts on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Appreciate it, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate always good to hear from Scott, and always good to hop on BetUS. I go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Use that sign up link. Automatically fills in the promo code SGPN. We just put a article out on the website sportsgamblingpodcast.com how to deposit and withdraw on sportsbooks using that sweet cryptocurrency. Highly recommend it. Again, lightning fast withdrawals. We were betting in Arizona, Ryan. Got some withdrawals there from some, call them domestic books. Took longer. Took 36 hours compared to the 3 hours Timed it. BetUS. It was in my cryptocurrency wallet. Highly recommend them. Nice prop menu. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Also giving away a nice Mustang convertible. All you got to do, deposit, I think $100 between now and the Super Bowl. Get all the details. Sign up. Toss us a bone and toss yourself a bone. Always good to have options in the sportsbook space, and get another one by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS.
I like what some of the chat's saying about about Robert Saleh being an all-time clapping head coach.
I mean, he's right up there
Jason
with Clapper.
Garrett.
Just vibes, right?
I will say, I think part of the Robert Saleh problem was he did coach a really good defense, but we often see great defensive coordinators go to teams and not be able to coach a defense. The defense was still good.
Yeah,
defense was still good.
No,
I think he's good looking. I think there is something about I mean, it's hard to wear a shaved head like he does and be that good looking.
Yeah, I think
perhaps that had something to do with what the situation here.
Yeah, I mean, he could walk off and be a Patagonia catalog model.
And you would rock.
Well, right. Like if he started modeling tech vests or flannel, you wouldn't go like, oh, that's Robert Saleh. You'd just be flipping through the catalog. You wouldn't even notice. Meanwhile, if Andy Reid was rocking, if Andy Reid was a catalog model, maybe,
I'm like, damn, who's this white Lizzo?
Maybe big and tall. If Carl's Jr. was in athletic wear, maybe athleisure. But yeah, I mean, there is a certain dynamic of what a football coach should look like, and maybe he's too good looking.
He might be too
be
good
a head
looking.
coach.
We'll have to get the bet detective on that.
Michael
Sean
Brock,
McVay is probably the best good looking coach of all time, I think.
Michael Brock in the chat saying Saleh and Russell Wilson have the same vibe. I know what you mean. Where it's just like, not a lot of great answers. You're trying to figure out what they ultimately bring to the table.
Amazing at smiling.
Yeah, the guy like seems like it would work out, but just doesn't. But
you could definitely see how someone gets tricked.
Yeah,
by this person's charisma. Yeah, I don't know. Very interesting. Also interesting to find out that Scott is a fan of a team. Yeah, well, he's a fan, but also, I mean, Scott Rational Reichel is not going to let his heart bleed into any of his handicapping. He keeps that iron heart is just locked up. I did. Let's see if I can track it down. But there was an amazing there was an amazing meme about like a girl trying to get a guy going to go to bed, and it was like, "Relax, honey. I'm betting Chinese tennis overnight." I'll try and track down that graphic, but it was very enjoyable, Ryan. And just fits Scott to a T. From what I know of Scott, that's his vibe, and Scott seemed to enjoy the reference. Oh yeah. The beard too. We should have commented on air. Oh yeah, I didn't. I don't know if you've noticed the very manly beard that Scott's he's growing it out. I like that. He must be doing well with the bets. Feeling good. Anything else you'd like to add about last week, Sean? No, nothing crazy. I mean, again, you keep talking about this horrible week. I did go 6-7-1 ATS. I mean, I just want to throw that out there. It was our combined lock, dog, tease, all hit. Combined worst week. It was not a great week for me, and I feel like the sides we agreed on were cursed by the gambling gods. Okay. So I feel like we just avoid spitting in the gambling god's face, and we can agree that's a good plan moving forward. Should we sacrifice a family member to get things going? No, okay. No. Okay. Didn't know how deep you go with these gods. All right. I found the Scott meme. So YouTube. Tennis in China. I tagged Scott in it, and then he reshared it, right? So it's just good times. Oh yeah, all right. Yeah, I think we'll have to. I think you took us off the screen. They might not be hearing us when you're sharing whatever you're doing there. Really? We'll have to play around with it. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good meme. It's very much representative of Scott. All right, you want to talk football? Yeah, let's go. You know, Sean, it's already week 6. Can you believe it? Already week 6? No, don't want to play along.
No. All right. I'm locked in, Ryan.
I like how you're trying to steal me being locked in by saying you're locked in first. I will say this, full disclosure, saw the board better the last 2 weeks, whatever that means. All right. Just wanted to say it out loud.
Okay.
Thursday night football. Seattle Seahawks hosting the San Francisco 49ers. Sean, San Francisco, rarely would I label a game like this, but San Francisco, they got Kansas City on deck. I'm sure they're not looking past a divisional foe, but maybe they're thinking about that Super Bowl that didn't go so well. Although it did start with a Kyle Juszczyk catch for the San Francisco 49ers. Who can forget? Now the 49ers are laying 3.5, Sean. Minus 180 on the money line. Seahawks plus 160. 49.5 is the total. I don't this was a little bit of a tricky handicap here because they're on one hand, I do think Seattle as a home dog on a short week is interesting, but you have the new coach angle.
Yeah. Rookie head coaches on Thursday Night Football have struggled.
And you have San Francisco in a very clear bounce back spot. But like I said, I pause because I see Kansas City on deck. And I'm not exactly sure what to think. In my just having watched Seattle, this is not a very good team.
No, and I mean, really, I highlighted it when they brought in Jason Peters for their offensive line. Now you have Nick Bosa going up against this weak Seattle offensive line. And I mean, again, that's why we were on, at least part of the handicap for me was the Giants defensive line going up against this Seattle offensive line. Seattle's incredibly banged up as well. They did not have a practice this week. They're so banged up. They only did a couple walkthroughs. I mean, I'm with you. The look ahead spot for San Francisco, Seattle is a home dog. Those are kind of the only things that really are appealing to me for Seattle. Teams after allowing 7 sacks or more the next game are 94, 122, and 6 ATS. So 44%. Last 20 years, in last 3 seasons, 11, 21, and 1 ATS last 3 seasons. Basically, to me. And again, I like trends if the trends make sense, and it's offensive line struggles often aren't baked into the line enough. And I don't see this 7 sack and not trying to even take anything away from the Giants, but I just think the Seattle offensive line is very bad. That game shouldn't have been as close as it was. The Giants just throttled them. Clearly Seattle was looking ahead to this 49ers game, but 49ers, yards per play have been very good offensively. They've just had some weird red zone stuff. But I think they're going to be able to move the ball. I mean, you saw Daniel Jones throwing the ball pretty well. And then Seattle's cornerback, Reek Woolen, is out. It looks like Kittle and Fred Warner, full participants in practice. I think Purdy's going to be able to throw all over Seattle. I think they're going to be able to impose their will. Shanahan has done very well against Seattle. No Hufanga for the 49ers. Again, we mentioned on the prop show, AJ Barner's kind of an interesting touchdown prop and first touchdown guy. But if Purdy can just not turn it over a bunch, I think they're going to be able to move the ball up and down. And yeah, I'm laying the 3.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. We not only we have where we taught that early in our gambling careers, but like you were saying, little regression candidate on the San Francisco offensive side. Only the Chiefs, Sean, have had fewer defensive snaps when trailing in the game. So basically, they've been playing with the lead a tremendous amount. Somehow they're blowing these games, or at least they're not doing as well as they should be against the number. But I would also, one other thing I would add here. I don't know what you take from this. The not practicing thing is terrifying. New coach angle, terrifying. But what's up, Ken Walker?
Oh, the just if you want to pull down the graphics stuck up there.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Ken Walker only got 5 carries last week.
Yeah,
which tells me that we're potentially seeing a play caller who gets lost a little bit in the game. And especially against a team like the Giants, I was expecting Kenneth Walker to have a serious amount of volume, and sure, maybe there was something going on schematically that drove them away from that. But holy crap, dude! He wasn't involved at all. So maybe they'll look to zig back on that. I don't know. I'll lay it. I don't love this one. Feels like it could be a weird letdown spot for the Niners, even though it can't possibly be. Also, they're not good running the ball this year. Worth noting, they missed Christian McCaffrey. I think. I don't know.
No, I think they're going to be able to move the ball on Seattle,
but they're not. That was the other thing that kind of scared me. Is they're not as good running the ball as I would have thought they were, just looking at the numbers that Jordan Mason's been putting out there. All right, another London game, Sean. Sunday morning, 6:30 a.m. They can't move the game time back a little bit over in London to make it just fit in with the 10 a.m. window. Just have a random London game going on. Scott Hansen would lose his mind.
I don't know why it needs to be 3. I get it. You want the continuous hours of football, but come on, what are we doing here? I feel like they have had some London games that were at a normal time.
They have, yeah. It's a little fatiguing. I think maybe it was the Germany game that was at a more normal time. This time we have the London Jags playing a road game in London against the home Chicago Bears. Bears are a public side here. The defense looking good. Some are saying Caleb Williams is taking strides in the National Football League. He certainly hasn't made a completely boneheaded play in a little bit. Chicago they did opt into the bye after this week. Probably fairly at this point, I feel like if I was a team, I would want the bye. Certainly after the long trip. -2, -128 on the money line. Sean, the total 44. Again, Chicago being a public team feels like a bit of a problem. The Jags being underdogs at home in London, a situation they're very familiar with, seems like a problem. And like I said last week, Jags were about to go on a 3-game winning streak. It started last week. We saw them get it done.
Perfect spot for them to do it.
And it's just, I made this handicap, the majority of my handicap for the Vikings Jets game. One organization felt trustworthy in getting this trip done in an organized fashion, and one is just less trustworthy. I can't trust
the Bears are the same team that had what was it? All those riding mowers stolen, all that equipment. The defensive coach mysteriously disappeared with some like workplace thing that was clearly some other weird thing. Like there was a lot of weird stuff going on with the Bears organization. I'm still a little skeptical of Eberflus. Now, certainly the Bears defense kind of carrying them, and Caleb Williams, to his credit, made some throws. But I'm just going to start with rookie quarterbacks in international spots. We've had 5 rookie quarterbacks start overseas. 0-5 straight up, 0-5 ATS, with 4 of the 5 quarterbacks losing by 14+ points. I think there is something to. And this is a perfect letdown spot for Caleb Williams and the Bears. Everyone's smelling them.
Yep.
They're smelling themselves. Yep. Everyone's like, "Oh, Bears, man, we're back.
Yep.
We're back to the hard knocks Bears." Meanwhile, Jags have a chip on their shoulder. You got our boy Dougie P. He's back to calling plays. Tank fucking Bigsby. I need a sweet Tank sound effect because I love this guy. He's running incredibly hard. And if there is a weakness on the Bears defense, it's the ability to pound the rock against them. Remember in the first half when we still had hope with the Tennessee Titans in that opening day? Yep. It was because they were pounding the rock. Bears are 21st in defensive rush EPA, so you can run on them. They also, from what I can find, play a decent amount of zone cover 3, which is one of the few defenses Trevor Lawrence does well against. So I think you have a Bears team coming in, smelling themselves, non-conference opponent overseas in London, ultimate sleepy spot. Caleb Williams is going to be trying to, get one of those guards to break his character. And I just think this is actually an awesome spot for the Jaguars.
Yeah, we've made this note a couple of years in a row now. We like the Jags more in the second week, obviously, because they've been there.
Yeah.
But again, with these travel situations, I'm just handicapping organizations. I trust the Bears less than I trust the Jags. Have done this trip now I mean, think of it this way: they've done it probably 5 to 10x most teams.
Said 6-5 in London, but 2-0 in this particular stadium. If you're
Tottenham,
yeah, I don't know how much that particularly matters, but yeah, I love teams that know how to do the London trip. And you hit on something with the organizational stuff, and the Bears organization, I can't imagine knows how to prepare properly for a game like this.
And I could be wrong here, but it did seem the article I read about the where they're staying, as we've learned from our boots on the ground, Billy Bahate is over in across the pond in England, that there's basically like a home hotel and a road hotel. So like, you're the home team, this is where you stay. If you're the road team, it's a little further away, whatever. The Jags, because they've been there so much, they have their own accommodations. Like this is like, so they're not.
Well, they're staying for 2 weeks, so you're probably staying in a real house.
Well,
something nicer.
I think just the idea that they go to the same place, they've done the deed. And Sean, this is one of those moves against the look ahead. Jags were favored last week. Now the Bears are favored. No, thank you. I saw someone in the chat mention this. That I will say the Jags if the Jags weren't the Jags, this would be in lock potential. But we and Sean have a rule.
God hates Jags. Patty Melt saying Jags have dual citizenship. Dick Puncher, Packers fan, pointing out Caleb has dual genders.
Oh wow.
I mean, if you're a Bear fan, you got to lean into it. Someone else here, we got Grits Blitz saying, "I don't trust Eberflus in a foreign country." Yeah, as much as it's easy to fade Doug Peterson in a lot of spots, this is the Jags' sweet spot. It really is.
And think about him as like he's driving the bus out to practice. He's yelling at Trevor Lawrence. He's going to pull the car over. He just seems like a road trip dad. Fits in. All right, let's move to the normal window. We're back-to-back weeks, Sean, now where we only have 6 games on the early slate.
6 isn't bad.
It means God's Eye will have something to do with one of its TVs. I'd be very curious as to what we might. Maybe there's no other sports worth putting on during football. They just distract you away from the sweet game of football. Washington, Baltimore, first early game, 10 a.m. on the West Coast. Little regional rivalry here. They are right down the street. Learn this from VSiN. Shout out to our producer Justin. The closest 2 teams are in the National Football League without playing in the same stadium. Washington and Baltimore. Washington catching 6.5 here, plus 248 on the money line. Baltimore minus 190. 51.5 is the total. Non-football notes here. Boy, I'm hearing a lot of people ask Lamar about Jaden Daniels because of the obvious comparisons. And then what do I hear Jaden Daniels say when he's asked about being compared to Lamar? I don't like that. I don't like being compared to Lamar. I'm my own person, which I respect the answer, but
yeah, I mean, it is kind of a lazy oh wait, you're a black quarterback. Yeah. He's a black quarterback.
Can you run?
Are you guys friends? It's like, no, my game is different. I'm doing my own thing. I could see if I was Jaden Daniels kind of being annoyed by that, but what do you make of this matchup? Because my gambling brain is telling me take the Ravens because hey, Commanders are 4-1. They're 6.5 point dogs, probably for a reason. It feels like they still haven't gotten tested. Maybe we were naive to think the Browns were going to be able to test them.
Yes, we were.
Ravens offense, I think, should be able to exploit some stuff against the Commanders. To me, I just look at Washington. Now, their defense is better than we originally thought to some degree, but they're still 27th in defensive rush EPA. That is how the Ravens win games, right? Because look at that Bills team. Bills came into town. Certainly, have a lot of talent on that roster. Decent situation, at least decent enough for the Bills. And Ravens just ran it down their throat. If you can give Derrick Henry 25 carries and the game script makes sense, and you're not playing from behind a ton. I could see how the Ravens put the team in a tough spot. And Harbaugh versus a rookie quarterback, 15-2 up at home. Lamar Jackson versus the NFC, 21-1. Ryan, of course, the Jags, the only team to beat him. He's only 11-11 ATS. This is kind of where I like the Ravens to win the game. I'm worried that we get because of the Commanders. Like, hey, the ball doesn't hit the ground, backdoor. Ravens' inability to maintain a big lead. I'm worried this gets backdoor, but I think I gotta go Ravens laying the points just because of how bad the Commanders are at stopping the run.
Yeah, the public's all over the Commanders here.
Really,
to me, this is a very obvious spot. Like, I do think this is the exact kind of situation where Lamar will want to make it seem that he is the superior alpha dog on this field. Two, I do kind of trust Baltimore's defense to have a game plan for Jaden Daniels based on what people have seen. Not to throw any sort of shade at Jaden Daniels, but he has had a tremendous amount of, easy success. So I'll be curious. What we've seen we see Baltimore confuse young quarterbacks all the time. So if they can pull that out of their hat, they brought in Dean Pease, defensive consultant. Maybe wonder if there's any significance to that happening this week. But yeah, I think. I think part of my handicap is I'm just not fully bought in. I'm bought in.
I know, but then part of me is just like I feel like it's
a non-conference spot.
No, it's again. If Washington loses this game, they still feel amazing about themselves, and I just think at some point this Cliff Kingsbury offense and what they're doing, we've seen Cliff have so much success in September. Now maybe it extended a little bit into October. But yeah, I guess I'm just a little skeptical.
Lamar's only go against Dan Quinn's defense is back when Dan Quinn was coaching the Falcons.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, unrelated, stumbled across a hilarious clip where a weather guy was referring to the second half of the hurricane. Like the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl. You never know what could happen in the second half. So
that was great. It's just
careful
the Atlanta Falcons taking strays out of nowhere. I mean, it's one thing to lose the Super Bowl, but to lose it in the way the Falcons did was just a nightmare fashion. That will haunt you forever. You'll never get over it. I mean, I'm still pissed off about the Eagles losing to the Chiefs, but hey, whatever. They gave it their all. They lost it. It was a tough loss, but it's not a reference that people will bring up mid hurricane.
No,
like that's an all-time
mid hurricane.
Mid hurricane, he's still thinking 28-3.
So how is the hurricane halftime?
You know he had Falcons money line. That one stays with you.
Motherfucker was in the eye. Game number 2 in the 10 a.m. block on the West Coast. Arizona heads to Green Bay, Sean, where the Packers laying 5 points, just like the look ahead told us. This number is the same as it was all the way back in the openers in May, Sean.
Really?
-5 for the Packers, -235 in the money line, +205 for the Cardinals. 47.5 is the total. I thought it was a little odd myself because it does seem like one team has gone down a little bit, one team's gone up a little bit. Arizona is on a back-to-back road spot here.
Yeah.
I love the Cardinals this year.
I
love their chances. I love the 14-1 ticket I have on the division. I like their chances to be scrappy in this division. We see San Francisco looking shaky, not a ton else in there. But this is not the spot to take them. This is a tremendously bad spot, although they are getting Zay Jones back. And one of the guys we have a little defensive rookie of the year money on, Darius Robinson, his window has been activated to return. Out. So, but this is just a spot for the Packers where they are super duper healthy. Yeah. Watson somehow is running. I watched some tape of Watson running at practice. He looks healthy. Dobbs is off his mysterious suspension.
Yeah. Packers fans, explain to us what happened with Romeo Doubs. It seemed like
he tried to bite the hand that was feeding him.
Yeah, he was pissed off about playing time. Why? I mean, why would you like Christian Watson's hurt? You're going to get more playing time by default. Just ball out.
Yeah.
And let whatever he was doing behind the scenes.
Big babies.
Cardinals have been pretty decent, and Kyler as dogs of 4 or more. That's kind of an interesting angle, but this is a back-to-back road spot after a physical game against San Francisco.
Yep. Big game, big divisional game.
And really this Cardinals, and you know,
2-0 in the division. The Cardinals.
Ryan, you've gone to war with Packers on social media. I know because I can't open our Instagram app anymore. They've taken it over. Jordan Love is 28th in EPA per play, but I think
no, don't say that.
I think it's explainable enough. Of hey, he played some tough defenses. He was still coming off that injury. Now you're back at home. You're healthy. You're going against this Cardinals defense. You should be able to throw against.
Do whatever you want against.
I mean, Cardinals have been allowing quarterbacks a combined 72.5% passes, 8.14 yards per attempt. Pass defense is 30th in dropback per EPA, 32nd in dropback success rate. Like this was they just beat the 49ers. Why? It was a close your eyes special. It was a division game. They got some nice breaks with the turnover, some tip ball stuff. I mean, I just don't know if it's sustainable against this Packers team that is going to be in fired up.
That was a huge win for them. They hadn't beaten the Niners in a while. Like that, I really do. This is a strong letdown spot, and it's a strong letdown spot because I think the Packers could just run the ball down their throat, and I don't know if they're going to be able to stop them or keep up with them. So
Ulysses S. Dance saying, "Fuck the Niners. They soft. Don't be libs." I mean, I agree. I'm not a huge Niners fan, but I think for the Cardinals playing the Niners and now playing the Packers, that's a tough spot for him.
Yeah.
Dick Puncher, Packers super fan, pointing out Xavier McKinney has been on a crazy run.
Yeah.
5 interceptions. It's some sort of stat of like first time anyone's ever had 5 interceptions in 5 games with a new team. I think he could get some against Kyler, but yeah, I worry. There's like spots to play the Cardinals, and this doesn't feel like it. It feels like a good day for the Packers offense.
This is also one of those where you have nearing 60% of the bets on Arizona, but
public dogs got fleas, right? That's all you need to know.
Less than 35 of the handle. So
square.
I almost labeled the Packers as sharp side. They've been sharp a lot this year.
You know what else is sharp? Signing up over at UnderdogFantasy.com using our promo code SGPN, getting a nice deposit bonus up to $1,000, 50% deposit match, and the profit boost they just keep throwing at you. I'm looking. I just opened my account. 50% profit boost, 250 max. You do have to pick 5, so that's going to be fun to get down on. They have a profit boost with a ghost, 31% with MLB, 31% profit boost, NHL. Like they have a ton of extra bonuses. Always fun to get down. Kramer, we hit our one last week. It was the Tank Bigsby higher touchdown, and I think what was the other? It was a Cooper receiving yards, maybe.
Yes.
All right, so stuff we've already talked about. What do you find intriguing for a 2-leg underdog entry?
Well, I mean, we should talk London, right?
Sure. What do you? Although Tank Bigsby stuff isn't out, obviously I like that, but I think they're waiting for maybe a little more insight on the.
All right, then we'll skip ahead to the Washington-Baltimore game. I mean, I would immediately look to play Lamar's rushing yards. In this kind of game.
I mean, Derrick Henry as well. I mean, his is really high, but you're right. This does
Lamar's
feel like a Lamar.
Come on,
Lamar's going to be like, "Fuck you." I'm Lamar. 58.5 rushing yards higher.
Yeah, higher.
Okay, like that. I mean, we just talked about how we like the Packers. Maybe there's some Packer passing stuff we want to get down on.
I mean, I think this would probably be the time to fire on some sort of turnover for Kyler.
Oh, really? Xavier McKinney getting his
the rare fumble. Is it time to pull out a fumble?
No, the fumble's never hit. Interceptions higher is like 0.8x. You don't even get the full.
I did see on the Matt LaFleur podcast this week that he told the story about promising Josh Jacobs that they're going to get him a receiving touchdown because he's never had one in his career. I don't know why that's significant this week, but maybe you want to just play a Josh Jacobs touchdown.
Yeah, I don't mind Josh Jacobs touchdown. I mean, I think he's what does he have? 2 so far this season. Yeah, I'm down with that. I mean, I like the. Yeah, let's a
little
let's
2 legs
Josh
and then
Jacobs.
hit it. Oh, 50% profit boost. Are you kidding me?
So I'll go Josh Jacobs higher rushing and or receiving touchdown. Nice little 2xer, pays 3.42 with the Lamar higher 58.5 rushing yards. Let's get it, Lamar.
These guys,
Josh Jacobs.
These underdog people are crazy. I mean, some of these profit boosts I got.
I know, it's insane. Shout out to Underdog and their profit boost. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN.
Again, highly recommend you get in their Discord, get some of these bonus boosts. Very nice. All right, game 3 in the early window, 10 a.m. on the West Coast. Houston, the Texans, who, Sean, by our number on the podcast, they covered their first game last week, which is almost an unbelievable nugget. Now they are laying 7 on the road here against the New England Patriots, who are starting Drake May for the first game of the year. Pats do have
a baby fucking wheel, man.
Pats do have a look ahead spot, Sean, as they are on the road in London next week.
Yeah.
Minus 300 on the money line for the Texans, plus 256 for the Pats. 38 is the total. Why do you start them this game? Why is this game that you roll Drake May out for? Doesn't seem like the best time to do it. Everything's in shambles. Your offensive line is trash.
Yeah, I don't
you just
mind.
Lost to an absolutely atrocious Dolphins team.
I would have started him against the Dolphins, but I would have started him week 1. I don't think he's learning much from watching Jacoby Brissett. And if you talk to Patriots fans,
is this what they want?
No, they're pretty split, but they would say that guys are open down the field that Jacoby Brissett is not getting to. And that Drake May brings some playmaking. And how do you fix offensive lines with issues? You bring in a mobile quarterback like Drake May, who I think is gonna surprise some people here in this spot. I think he's going to be able to move around in the pocket, create some plays with his legs. I'm going to be looking to some Drake May rushing stuff on the prop show, maybe some anytime touchdown for Drake May. And I mean, on the Texans side, if I'm taking the Texans to win by margin, I got to know that they can establish the run. And if you watch Bobby Slowick, he keeps wanting to pound the rock and give these early down carries to Agunawale, Cam Akers, and it's just they're not quite as efficient as they should be. And Nico Collins now on the IR, Joe Mixon DNP, so I'm guessing he's not going to go. Now, certainly this Texans defense against the Pats, you like that matchup, but I think
Jimmy Ward also out of practice, FYI.
And maybe the Texans looking ahead to the Packers. It's certainly easy to look past this Patriots team, but I don't think the Patriots are looking ahead to London. I mean, Drake May's making his first start, and usually the look ahead to London is if you're a big favorite and you're overlooking the guy there. But the also the injury report. Now I know the Pats are a little banged up, but Houston, Derek Barnett. These are the guys. DNP on practice on Wednesday. Derek Barnett, guard Kenyon Green, linebacker Jake Hansen, offensive tackle Titus Howard, cornerback Kamari Lassiter, Joe Mixon, Laramie Tunsil, Jimmy Ward, Robert Woods, and Nico Collins is on the IR. And Stephon Diggs, his pouty ass after getting his vengeance. You think he's going to get up for this game? I think this is actually, and I think this Pats defense is okay. I think they were decent, then they got injured, and they're still okay. I think the Pats get up for this game, and I think Drake May keeps them competitive.
So my only concern with taking the Pats, because it's very obvious to me, you take the Pats here. The Houston is a team that can't cover big numbers. There's a million reasons. Maybe Dameon Pierce. I
like Dameon Pierce, but
he's coming back, but. Patriots head coach Gerard Mayo said it was a little bit disappointing that that the news that Drake May was starting was leaked before he could speak to the team. That's my the organization problems around what this team is going. The mutiny that Cousin Mush was speaking
about. But I think the mutiny was everyone knowing you lose the team when you don't play the best players.
I hear you. This is the bump.
Clearly Drake May was better than Jacoby Brissett, and people were pissed off about it.
Some of these quarterbacks have looked pretty rough to start. There's a chance that he looks really bad.
But your rookie quarterbacks have been great straight up in ATS this season. Now I don't know. I like it to continue.
It's
here.
This would be a tough matchup against this defense with that pass rush advantage against that offensive line. But I'm with you. You got to take the points. This is going to be one of the we look back and we're like, oh, we got cute.
No, maybe, I don't think so at all.
Maybe
What does the betting split say?
Oh, Houston. Everyone's on Houston. Yeah, no, I get why I'm on New England. I understand why. I'm just saying what my hesitation is that they seemed really scared to put Drake May out there. And so what if he's that bad? And this. No,
they're scared because of their offensive line and they're scared of him getting hurt. I don't think there wouldn't be a mutiny if they didn't know that this quarterback was clearly better than Jacoby Brissett.
I think it's easy to throw to look good throwing a pass in practice. Where if they're worried about his ability to deal with the
know
pressure,
who the better player is.
No, I understand, but I think this is like a not great time to be rolled out for your first start, especially if you're not ready. He could look really bad. That's my concern. All right, definitely not my money line. I'll say that. Game number 4 on the early window. Little NFC South divisional matchup. These games are always a mess. Tampa coming off a Thursday night spot, Sean.
Yeah.
They are now heading to New Orleans, which we've all heard about. They headed up there a week early to avoid the storm. They're practicing at Tulane, and they're laying 3.5 points here in Nolens. Total 41.5. Saints plus 157 on the money line. Because we know that Spencer Rattler is going to start because Derek Carr decided to go get hurt. Saints, like we said, off Monday night, Bucks off Thursday night. Big rest disparity. We just saw this last week with the Giants and the Seahawks. You saw the massive difference. Not only that, but just like the Seahawks, New Orleans is looking ahead to a Thursday night spot, which has some implications as they welcome Sean Payton back to town.
Yeah, I mean,
Tampa is on a back-to-back road spot. Tampa, although mini bye kind of to me throws a little of that out. More importantly, they've gotten up and traveled as like a circus. The whole team, organization, family members have gone. So one thing I would say is they do have the family members in the hotel room. Maybe that's a slight distraction, but certainly less of a distraction than dealing with like whatever storm activities are going on, trying to manage that while you're getting ready for an NFL game. They're also the public side, Sean. So with flushing all of that out, I don't see any reason why I would want to take a rookie quarterback going against Todd Bowles in his first start.
Yeah, no, he did. Bo Nix did get the best of him, but as we highlighted, taking the Broncos there, it was kind of a weird situation spot for the Bucks. I think the Bucks off a loss is a good spot. I mean, you mentioned obviously the rest disparity. Taysom Hill looks like he's still going to be out. If he plays, I think he's certainly interesting for some fantasy stuff. And speaking of that, I think Godwin, Jalen McMillan, if he goes, is pretty interesting. Sounds like Bucks are getting some of their guys back on the defensive side. And that's part of the reason I think they lost against the Broncos, where they were incredibly banged up. Kalijah Kancey, full participation. Antonio Winfield Jr. was limited, but I think he's trending in the right direction. Luke Godke, I think they tackle there for them. I think he's going to pass the concussion protocol this week. Get out there. And you saw, because they were down.
Sean, we can't pronounce Luke Gedicke's name wrong because we learned he just likes to move move men.
Luke Gedicke, man mover, and I think that's really why the Bucks lost that game in overtime. Was not only was Antonio Winfield out there, but the backup safety was also out, and they were incredibly thin back there. I think you have a hungry Bucks team, a better Bucks team with the Saints. Again, the rest disparity with the Thursday look ahead. That to me is all you really need. And this Saints team got roasted by Juju last week. Now I know Baker is no Patrick Mahomes, but they've certainly struggled with the secondary. And I think they're going to have, maybe Lattimore can slow down Evans. That's always an interesting matchup. But I think the other receivers, whether it's Trey Palmer, Jalen McMillan, we'll see what the injury report shakes out. But Godwin, especially, I think is going to have a massive game.
Yeah, I was pulling up the price of the Mike Evans.
Dick Puncher is, of course, already on Mike Evans anytime touchdown. The Lattimore matchup does scare me a little bit, but I think they're going to be able to throw all over them.
It looks like the number is plus 140 again. Okay. Like you said, I think it's a pretty notable matchup people are aware of, and he doesn't often get the best of Lattimore. Sean, we're supposed to lay the 3.5, never take it. I also, with a guy who falls to the 5th round like Spencer Rattler, regardless of the hype, because I thought Jake Haener had some pop on his arm, like with some of his throws. Maybe it's just relative to Derek Carr, but yeah, just when you see them make that switch, say no, we're actually going to go with Spencer Rattler to see what we get here. We want to give him a full week of practice, all that.
But he doesn't even get a full week of practice because the game ended on Monday.
I know, and I think there's this.
I mean, just just if you said rookie quarterback making his first start on a short week of practice against Todd Bowles, it's
not good. It's not good. Like smash. Yeah, he might have lost to Bo Nix. They did take down Jaden Daniels. No one else has done that. So I'm with you. 6 for 6, Sean. We're just gonna agree on all the picks this week. Should be pretty exciting. 10 a.m. game number 5. Sean, your Philadelphia Eagles. They're hosting the Cleveland Browns in what has to be a terrifying spot for you. The Browns are just complete ass. They're catching 9.5 points here, plus 374 on the money line. 42.5 is the total. The Eagles have the rest advantage because they're coming off the bye. The Browns are on a back-to-back road spot. Deshaun Watson's being asked about the calls for his job, and he said, "I'm not aware of that. I don't have social media. So if it's coming from the outside,
he shouldn't go on social media."
Definitely shouldn't go on.
According to court reports, you do have social media and used it to contact various masseuses in the Houston area.
Did you see that he has settled more lawsuits than he has thrown passing
23
touchdowns?
settled lawsuits, 19 touchdowns since traded to the Browns. I was trying to explain to my wife Deshaun Watson. I'm like, yeah, they set this record for guaranteed money, and then it came out that he was, hiring all these women to give massages and then jerk them off, and then maybe even more inappropriate behavior. And he also liked having his butthole fingered.
Oh man,
it was a very funny conversation. Stefanski, no discussion.
Pretty enlightening for your wife.
Yeah, she learned a lot about the NFL. No discussion of benching Deshaun Watson.
No. Why would we do that? Free Jameis. If the Giants should call and just be like, "Oh, we'll give you a 7th rounder. Send Jameis over."
Obviously I'm going to be on the Eagles here. We haven't even talked about it, but historically, third road game is just an incredibly hard spot for NFL teams. The factor and Cleveland Browns are incredibly just bad with Deshaun Watson. Now the Eagles on the other side, coming off a bye. Sirianni's been good off the bye. They get AJ Brown back. They get Devonta Smith and Lane Johnson. Like, that's a huge shift to their offense. And quietly, I think at least, there was a lot of reasons why they looked horrible in Tampa Bay, not making excuses, but just trying to wrap the head around it. The tackling was very poor. They had a full padded practice with tackling. Love to see them getting back to basics. And Cooper DeJean is playing instead of Avonte Maddox. And if you've been watching the Eagles,
is that an upgrade?
I would say not having. I obviously don't know because Cooper DeJean is an unknown, but Avonte Maddox was a serious liability in the secondary, and he was getting picked on at a pretty high rate. So not having him out there, I think, to me, it's addition by subtraction. We'll see what we get with Cooper DeJean, but I think this is a great spot for the Eagles. To your point, Ryan, the Eagles haven't won a lot of games by double digits. But this is just an incredible spot for them. And in a weird way, it is a lot of pressure because if Deshaun Watson comes in and beats this Eagles team, it's going to be a nightmare scenario. Just framing how bad Deshaun Watson has been. 62 quarterbacks have had 200+ plays since the start of 2022. Watson, 55th in EPA per play, 54th in success rate, 51st CPOE. He's basically in Davis Mills territory. His last 300-yard game came
the irony
with the Texans in January 2021. So I know the Eagles haven't won by double digits in a long time, but Deshaun Watson hasn't looked good in even a longer time. And I'll remind you, AJ Brown's played one game, 5 for 119 and a touchdown. Get this guy back out on the field, and this offense is completely different. So
you're not worried at all about laying all these points with that defense?
No.
Okay.
No, because the offense of the Browns are so bad.
The offensive line, even they're still mostly limited. Zach Zinter, I asked you about him earlier in the office. He's one of the interior defensive linemen that has just been getting dog walked back to the quarterback constantly. I would imagine Jalen Carter will have a nice game. And yeah, I mean, I just think I don't know how you can be taken seriously as a team until something changes, regardless of what you want to zoom into that moment where Deshaun Watson walks off the field because he couldn't have snapped the ball because there are 12 guys. Whatever that is, it's shitty body language. It looks shitty. Like it doesn't matter. You're Stefanski not willing to give up play calling. Yeah, he shouldn't give up play calling, but why can't he swap the quarterback? What is preventing him from doing that? Do you know who would be the play caller if he decided to give up those play calling duties? Ken Dorsey. No one wants Ken Dorsey to call their plays. We can all remember what that entitled prick did to that poor Microsoft Surface in the press box of Buffalo. Nick
Forgot about that, right?
Nick Chubb could be back.
This is like the first time he's seen practice. I would be surprised if he plays.
Quote,
because
anything
usually
is possible, but with Nick, I don't want to get too far beyond today. That was Stefanski on if Nick Chubb could play. My instincts say, don't you dare lay 9.5 points with the Eagles' dog shit offense or defense. But we said this no more Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
No more Deshaun.
That was the last time. That was the last time we. That's at least for me the last time.
I'm not touching Deshaun Watson.
I'll ever be involved on a Deshaun Watson side. I'm done, and I don't think he's got a lot of games left where we're gonna have to decide, right?
But boy, this is a spot where the Eagles have all the pressure on them.
Well, Ryan, you know who has a lot of pressure on them? Rhythm, because Rhythm, their AI models have been on an incredible heater. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Get signed up today. Get your 7-day free trial today. Build your own model. Super fun to build your own model. My model likes the Eagles. No, this is sorry.
Oh
No, I was looking at the wrong game. This
bad
is
model. Bad model.
Let's find the games where there's a little bit more agreement.
Oh, your model. It's my model.
Sometimes, and that's
both my models. Like Bubba and Stacy like the Browns. This is
okay. Well, Ryan, let's go back to the Jags Bears. Both Rhythm AI and my model both like the Jags getting 2 points.
Oh,
good spot. Good amount there. I'm sure we'll
home
be giving
dog.
out. Yeah, well, a home dog over in London there. Ryan, I'm looking at the props. Maybe spoiler alert for the props episode, but one of their favorite plays, Wandale Robinson to get a touchdown at home against the Bengals, +160. Again, get in, use the props, build your models. Great for FCS totals, college football, NFL. They got it all. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
So I'm laying 9.5 points with the Eagles. Ugh.
Come on, Ryan.
Indy.
Wait till I lock it up.
Oh, God damn it. Last game on the early window, Indy heads to Tennessee for a little AFC. Why are the South Division so much fun? For a little AFC South Division matchup. The Colts, they're catching 2.5 points here, +122 on the money line, -140 for the Titans. 43.5 is the total. Titans coming off the bye. You gotta assume. I mean, it does look like it's going to be Will Levis. But people are betting the Colts right now. They are the public side, 72%, back-to-back road spot. I don't understand any of that. I don't understand it other than Joe Flacco. But Joe Flacco might not be going because it sounds like Anthony Richardson could be healthy.
AR-15.
I don't know what to think about this.
This
one.
is, I mean,
other than I guess one more week on the Titans.
This is crazy because Joe Flacco, beginning the season as the backup, 115.6 passer rating. Anthony Richardson 60.2. Joe Flacco's number 2 in EPA per dropback. Anthony Richardson damn near the bottom. Flacco completing 70% of his passes.
Who are they going to start?
Richardson 50.6. It sounds like Richardson starting. This is really tough.
Pittman out multiple weeks.
Pittman's out multiple weeks. The Titans are coming off a bye, and again, if they. This is why you hear us and a lot of people in the gambling world liking the Titans. They are 3rd in the league in yards per play defensively. If they can just not fuck up comically with block punts or defensive touchdowns going the other way, they can win some games. Titans own Indy. They're 6-3 straight up last 9. And the Colts are really struggling to get a pass rush, but more important, and like that's why Trevor Lawrence went off, right? They couldn't get to the pass rush, and they were playing some easy zone stuff that he could figure out. And the Gus Bradley defense is easy to figure out, which maybe even Will Levis has some success. More importantly, the Colts can't stop the run. I think this is a nice spot for Tony Pollard. They're able to control the ball, but again, do I want to bet against Joe Flacco? No. That being said, I think AR-15 plays, so I got to take Tennessee -2.5.
No Jonathan Taylor. Trey Sermon also
is Taylor officially out?
He hasn't practiced.
Okay, yeah.
Like
those high ankle sprains, even if he does play that first game, you got to smash the under.
Pittman being out for now multiple weeks is interesting. You got Josh Downs missed practice on Wednesday, so there's definitely some negative stuff, but then also you get Kwity Paye, Kenny Moore, and Ryan Kelly back at practice. So again, I don't know what to think about this Colts team. I just think it right now. If Flacco plays, you bet on him. If Flacco doesn't play, you don't bet on him.
I'm laughing at Darius Knox in the chat saying, "This is what I've been waiting for. Titans up, baby. Don't be no bitch." Yeah, no, we're on the Titans once again.
Brian Callahan said to the media that he told Calvin Ridley that he needs to find a way to get him the ball more and get him going. So maybe we'll be looking at some Calvin Ridley props. And yeah, they signed Trevor Siemian just as an emergency plan.
There you go.
Only emergency.
Shout out to Magic Man Blanco, legend in his own right. Also big dog right now, donation wide for the hurricane relief effort. LFG Gent super drunk catching a live show. NyQuil for the wife and son again. Tomorrow's his birthday, so he needed extra rest. You know, a little sleepy family. Shout out to you, Magic Man Blanco. Appreciate all the support and appreciate you. Spreading the good word. And we are on your Packers, so best of luck to your Packers.
It's true, we are, and I think it seems like we're just going to do the Titans again.
Even though
we're supposed to take the 2.5.
One more time.
We're sure we're not supposed to take the 2.5 here.
I don't.
All right,
I
positive.
don't. I liked it better when they were a slight dog, even though it's not.
The look ahead had Indy -1, so
okay.
And all the money's coming in on the Colts, and yet somehow it's 2.5. Someone knows something, Sean. I do like the idea of this Tennessee team off the bye. One last quote from the
come on, they're so good.
Will Levis quote: "I'm fighting like hell to get out there on Sunday." How can you not love this guy? All right, first game in the early afternoon slate here on the West Coast. We got the Los Angeles Chargers heading to Denver. Sean's going to tell us the elevation in Denver in a minute.
5280,
which is a lot higher than 0 where the Chargers are. Chargers are laying 2.5 on the road. What? -145 in Denver. Denver a +127 home dog. 35.5 is the total. I mean, Chargers are off a bye here, but man, that's a nice. That is a nice price for the Broncos, who are, by the way, looking ahead. Sean Payton has a trip on Thursday Night Football against the Nolans Saints.
That certainly does factor a little bit in my handicap. I think that this is a division game. You're at home. Maybe the Thursday night look ahead's a little softer, and Broncos aren't a team quite yet that I think will look ahead. I just love this Broncos defense, and you could maybe make a case for the Chargers for me if they were healthier. But like, look at that Chargers injury report. I mean, some of these guys will probably play, but they certainly aren't going to be healthy, right?
I mean, so to your point, you have both tackles and quarterback Justin Herbert limited.
Yeah,
along with key members of the defense, Khalil
Joey
Mack,
Bosa, DNP,
Asante Samuel,
Derwin James, DNP, personal. No idea what's going on there.
For just a little day off, maybe a baby. Who knows?
I mean, Jazir Taylor, Deanne Leonard, like there's just an incredible amount of injuries, and you're going on the road at elevation.
Dicker the kicker's ill.
I mean, you're ill, and then you got to go up to the mountains and kick field goals against this Broncos defense. This to me feels like the Steelers game, right? Where you have this Chargers team who, pretty good, but now you're going on the road in in an environment that still has a home field advantage. In my mind, you're not 100%, and I think they're going to ugly the game up. I mean, is it a lock that Justin Herbert finishes this game? I don't think so. Like, and you need more than 2 weeks to completely heal. And Harbaugh was practicing these guys, which I like normally. But the fact that they're so banged up, I don't see it. So, and Harbaugh, he's been okay against the bye, nothing crazy. Like he's 3-4 ATS, 3-1 straight up. And Bo Nix has looked a lot better. Like he's confident. He was yelling at Sean Payton. They were like buddy. They were going at it. Like it feels like they're able to run the ball and play really good defense. Now Chargers are pretty good at slowing down the run, so maybe that jams things up for them. Ultimately, though, I do think the Broncos get it done. This feels like an ugly game. Feels like a 17-14 Broncos win. I mean, the total's at 35.5, which leads me to the dog in general.
Yeah, I mean, both. It's a very interesting matchup because both defenses have been pretty proficient against the run and the pass. Really, they both have been good defenses, but they're both good against the run. Both teams need to run the ball. I'll be honest. My instincts tell me to take the Chargers here. We like the Chargers on the road. Better
what is what's the public split?
It's not a 60-40.
I'm not going to get off the Broncos bandwagon. I was the guy. I built the bandwagon, Ryan. I'm not going to hop off. I understand if the wagons get a little fast, gets a little shaky, you might get a little nervous. You see a potential speed bump ahead. But I liked him in Tampa Bay. I liked him in New York. I liked him at home against the Raiders. I like this Broncos team. I'm going to keep picking them till the market catches up. And this like if Broncos were 3-point favorites, which that's kind of how I would handicap this game. I don't Chargers to me aren't road favorite territory, especially with how banged up they are.
It probably should be. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Although the look ahead was 2.5, I'll take. Well, you're supposed to take the 2.5 too, so I can't lay it every time. I will be on the Broncos here, although I certainly can see the case for the Chargers. I have more faith that the Chargers offense will not be trash if the running game gets slowed down a little bit. But you're right. Maybe Herbert's foot still hurts him. I don't know. Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, game number 2 in the late window. Pittsburgh is a massive chalk side here, public all over them, which is always scary. Las Vegas, meanwhile, swapping their quarterbacks.
Aiden O'Connell, Favre getting the start
and catching 3 points at home here, plus 146 on the money line. 36.5 is the total, so slight tick up from the last game we were talking about. 84% of the public, like I was saying, is on the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is a little scary. The talk of maybe Russ coming in, a little scary, but it doesn't matter because right now the Raiders are in a situation where Antonio Pierce is being asked questions about Devontae Adams, and he's saying things like this: Devontae's doing well. The hamstring is getting there, and he's getting closer and closer to getting back on the practice field. He is in good spirits. We talked, so everything's good. He's still a Raider. He's never not been a Raider. Quote, when he's healthy, he can play. We'll play him. He's working every day to get the hamstring right, and he's in the right headspace mentally. Like I said, we talked recently, had a good conversation, and he's ready to play football. What the fuck are you saying? Obviously, that's not what's happening. And oh, by the way, buried in all of this, Christian Wilkins out.
Yes,
had some surgery.
Huge.
He was a massive free agent acquisition, if you remember. I remember because he's Dexter Lawrence's best friend, and I was hoping he'd come play with him on the New York Football Giants. But yeah, it just seems like this Las Vegas team.
I mean,
do you think O'Connell's an upgrade? I don't.
Now, Ryan, this is just for the listeners at home. This is not a close your eyes special for the Raiders, right?
No,
because they only lost by 16, and the Broncos were favored there by a couple. Yeah, I mean, that would be the only thing that could really get me into Raiders mode. Certainly, there's been a few chinks in the armor of the Steelers case, our Steelers super fandom. But I mean, Steelers versus Tomlin versus an inexperienced quarterback, which that was my handicap against Anthony Richardson. And of course, Joe Flacco comes in and fucking shreds them. I would still love to see that game and I know he completed a couple passes early, but the thing with, I mean, Anthony Richardson is a house of cards. Like Anthony Richardson is a human Jenga game where, you can pull out a couple plays there, but eventually it's going to come crashing down. So I would love to see a Mike Tomlin defense against a guy making his 11th start in Aiden O'Connell. The Steelers will have the home crowd. I mean, I feel like Steelers won and covered last time in a similar situation here. Raiders, their offense has been really bad, and you're going 29th in EPA per play. You're going up against, and that was some of those games were with Devontae Adams. Now you're going up against a team, Steelers 9th in defensive EPA. Max Crosby clearly not 100% physically or mentally. Like he's yelling about Pat McAfee. Like what does that have to do with anything?
Everything's going to shit in Las Vegas land.
It just feels like, again, and massive coaching discrepancy. The same reason I liked Harbaugh versus Antonio Pierce week 1 is the same reason I like Mike Tomlin versus Antonio Pierce in this week. I know the public's on it. I know
they played a very late game on Sunday night because of the delay.
Yeah. No, there's
and.
The reason you take the Raiders and almost makes me good feeling taking the Steelers, because I can see the case for the Raiders is, hey, they're a home dog. They're a desperate team. Steelers played late. The Steelers offense has been really bad. There is clearly a handful of guys that are rallying around Antonio Pierce, but man, like Aiden O'Connell, just not someone I want to bet on. Also, and you could say the same thing about Fields, but at least he hasn't been turning it over. And a team that wins the turnover margin 3-0, I like taking them the next week if they lost the game. Like they're gonna figure out how to win this game.
Yeah. My pause, the slight pause also, which is part of what was holding me back on thinking Denver's a stronger play, is just purely how close that Vegas game could have been. And then we had a couple massive swing plays that ended up kind of defining what the game was with especially with pick sixes, right? Not every team like the Giants can overcome that kind of thing. And so I would say that's the main concern for not wanting to fade the Raiders this week, is that they are in like this massive buy low, buy even lower than you think they are. But I still can't get into it. The team is broken. Antonio Pierce wasn't the right coaching hire. I'll admit it. Have we disagreed yet, Sean?
Nope.
Wow. All right. Game number 3, late window. Atlanta heads to Carolina for a little NFC South matchup. We always, as you reminded me earlier in the office, we always like these dome teams, or fading these dome teams, going to the long grass of Carolina. Although I think we learned last season they changed to some sort of different field turf.
Still out.
Carolina or Atlanta coming off the Thursday night game. Kirk Cousins throwing for 1,000,000 yards, extra rest. Now everyone wants to bet on them, and guess what, Sean? The look ahead was -3 last week for Atlanta in Carolina, and now it's -6. That is a ridiculous move. And on top of that, I'm not a big Panthers guy, but they are close your eyes special because they did underperform the spread by 21 points or more last week. This is the grossest spot on the board. 86% of the public, like I was saying, is on the Falcons. This is gross as shit.
Yes.
I couldn't find a single quote, an optimistic quote from Andy Dalton. I couldn't find. I did find
about Andy Dalton and Kirk Cousins were briefly roommates.
I did come across
some football camp, and they asked, "How is Kirk as a roommate?" He's like, "Oh, he's pretty good."
Yeah, he's kind of a dweeb. He's probably a good roommate. He's not going to fuck with my stuff, but I mean,
it's not going to be thrown up in your trash can.
So there's plenty of reasons why. Obviously, I'm going to be on Carolina. I go to the church of the Close Your Eyes special. I'll meet you there. Generally going to.
I'll be passing around the basket.
Generally gonna fade a 3-point move on a look ahead that doesn't involve injury news at all. And I understand that Carolina's defense is bad, but there's still something about this Atlanta team. They could be winless, and yet here we are.
Yeah, and maybe they'll have another horseshoe up their ass. But I mean, Kirk Cousins hasn't been great at ATS after a straight up win. He hasn't been good as a big favorite, and you can throw on this Falcons Falcons defense. I mean, Baker Mayfield played like a damn near perfect game and lit them up. And we've seen this with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton can succeed if you don't pressure Andy Dalton. He can throw for some yards.
Sean loves the Panthers.
I know, I really do.
You're not supposed to like the close your eyes.
But remember how well, I mean, he played pretty well against the Bengals. Can't rush the passer, and the Falcons can't rush the passer for shit.
Here's my handicap.
They can't. They don't pressure anyone. They had one QB pressure, one sack against Baker. He was lighting them up the entire game.
Show primetime game?
No.
Okay. So that's when Kirk Cousins does well in prime time.
Yes.
It's bizarre.
Completely changed.
We got to flip it around. Those daytime games, he does horrible. So unfortunately, we have to take the Panthers one time.
Shout out to Justin Steele in the chat, Cubs legend. Are we live right now? Come on, let's go. Yeah, shout out to Justin Steele. I put him in touch with Derek Ryan over at Circus, so maybe we'll see Justin Steele hanging out at the Circus. We were hanging at the unnamed White Sox pitcher, and I said to Derek, I'm like, you got to get Justin Steele from the Cubs. Show him. So shout out to Justin Steele. Chat. Yes, I'm with you. Carolina +6. This is where we're at. Let's go, baby.
Yeah. Shout out to Justin. I saw he poured some hot coffee on his dick or something. Must have been devastating. Yeah, I don't know. I scrolling through the social media.
Twitter.
Yeah,
all right, I'll have to
you
check
have to go
in.
check it out. He poured hot coffee on his dick. It's in any sort of actual surgery. Detroit, Dallas. This certainly is America's game of the week, Sean. Gross. Troy Aikman, Joe Buck. No, they don't get to call this. Tom Brady's going to be in the house for this one, or are they already moving him onto the B squad? Detroit.
Tom Brady's doing a Pats game.
Oh, that's right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Tom Brady breaking down Drake May, giving you nugget like, hey, third down. This is a big down for him.
Will Tom Brady be calling game night?
I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where I love to hear Tom Brady as much as he's kind of like a tool, but he's an amazing athlete. So you would love to hear the insight of greatest quarterback of all time, the guy who is maybe picking up your torch in the New England area, your insights. He like has none. It's really tough.
You want insights?
He was going at Baker a little bit. Football fun again. He's like, you know what's fun? Winning Super Bowls. It was just like,
that's a horrible
really
comeback. That's like the "I'm better than you" comeback. It's like, okay, and then Baker had to like say basically like, yeah, you know, it wasn't. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Detroit, Dallas. Yeah, like I was saying, Detroit is laying a nice 3.5 points. -164 on the money line, +145 for the Cowboys. Cowboys looking ahead to the bye. Detroit the bye.
Well, Ryan, I played the sharp sound effect because I got down on this over at BetUS at -3. I knew this thing was gonna move up to 3.5 because I assumed the public was gonna be like me and love the Lions in this spot. I mean, as gut handicappers, are you kidding me? The Lions have had this game circled for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was 10 months ago where they got robbed in that Saturday game. I remember where I was out to dinner with my wife where it was like, hey, we'll go to this fun place. And of course they have the game on. And then I'm like trying to hang out with her, but also like, motherfucker, that wasn't, just completely losing my shit. Like, no, yeah, the food's great here. What the fuck? That is bullshit. Like, it's probably not the most fun date night. Me just with an incredible, horrible beat on against the Cowboys, and again, it was the worst case scenario. Got completely jobbed. Ironically, it was kind of what spurred them going on a bit of a run. The Lions, and really like Goff in a dome. Aiden Hutchinson versus this Cowboys offensive line. I mean, we versus the are some weaknesses to the Cowboys to the Steelers defense that they're able to exploit enough, and the Steelers offense was just dog shit. But if you can throw on the Cowboys, you can move the ball up and down the field. I just think this Cowboys offense is not going to know what hit them. You know, and I like the Cowboys stink. They are the 8th worst team in net adjusted EPA. Like they're 23rd. And they've had these wins, super ugly win where they lost the turnover differential by 3, a game against the Giants that they should have lost. Like even their wins don't look that good. I mean, look at like a quality team like the Ravens came in and just worked them. I expect the same from this line. So give me the Lions laying the points.
You laid a 3.5. You don't take it, and we have to make a mental note for next week. The kneecap trend is back on. We'll need to fade the Cowboys next week as well, Sean. So make a note in your calendar over there. Don't want to miss on that one. I don't think we've missed in a spot in 11, but yeah, the Cowboys one more time.
Yeah, that's all you need to know, right?
Oh boy, this is getting electric. We're to Sunday Night Football. And we have not disagreed on a pick. I don't know if this has ever happened. Cincinnati, the Bengals, who by the way, Sean, they're 1-4. Not good for your chance to make the playoffs.
No.
Well, -3.5 on the road for the Bengals coming into the Meadowlands. Are you kidding me? +155 for Zombie Dan Jones, who's looked pretty good since I pronounced him dead. 48 is the total. I've heard a lot of totals guys say this is a lock for the over. I mean, I'll let you start because obviously the Bengals offense and the Bengals defense are slightly disconnected.
I mean, Joe Burrow has been balling out. Thibodeau is out. He's going to be sounds like probably hit the IR. Going to miss some weeks cleaning up the old wrists. I mean, Giants are horrible ATS at home. They're coming off a massive win. The issue is they kind of match up okay against this Bengals team. Like, I mean, the Bengals can't stop anyone. They're coming off a tough division loss against the Ravens. The problem is this Bengals team is just incredibly desperate. This does feel like the Bengals are going to win by like the Giants backdoor it. Joe Burrow has a good game throwing against the Giants cornerbacks. I mean, Neighbors, Ryan, is he playing?
Yeah, he's progressed. He's at the point where he needs to be. And I would say what I just
don't like. How can you make the Bengals non-conference road favorites at 3.5?
They can't stop the run.
No,
the Giants offense will probably look fine. If it's a shootout, I guess I'm worried they'll be able to keep up, but the Giants defense is creating havoc. They're number 1 in the NFL in havoc plays. I'm going to just use that until they're not number 1. They're able to take advantage of certain types of offensive lines, bad ones specifically. And I think,
but oh no, Ryan,
what's that?
Is this game in primetime?
It is in primetime.
Danny Dimes in primetime. 6-22 straight up. 13-15 ATS though, and he's covered 2 straight, including against the Cowboys. That's why I feel like this is a 3-point loss for the Giants, and they get the cover. Is that crazy to call my shot exactly?
Yeah,
here?
call your shot exactly.
Okay. They're gonna lose, but they're gonna cover.
I do think that when all is said and done this year, we will look back and say the Bengals are the worst defense in the NFL.
I mean, and yet they did a good job of holding the Chiefs down in Kansas City. Like
that's just
it's weird. It's weird that they've even had a couple moments considering how bad they've looked otherwise.
Well, Mahomes if you've seen the numbers side by side, Mahomes is having a worse year than Daniel Jones this year. So
someone said, "How is Mahomes the MVP favorite?" But I don't think I would not bet on Patrick Mahomes MVP because one of these other quarterbacks are going to have a decent enough. He's 5-0, awesome, but yeah, 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and not
one's
crazy yardage.
No one's good. That's why Jaden Daniels is 10-1 to win the MVP. That's where.
So we're both on the Giants,
yeah.
catching 3.5 home dogs.
It's weird. Last one, Monday Night Football. Buffalo heads to New York officially without a head coach. Well, they have a new head coach, but he's not the same as the old head coach. Robert Saleh out, and Aaron Rodgers, the Fighting Aaron Rodgers, are catching 2.5 at home, plus 118 on the money line. 41 is the total. They didn't need Aaron Rodgers to win this game last year.
No,
they got it done with Zach Wilson. I don't really know why everyone's betting the Bills in this spot. This to me is one of the more obvious spots on the board. Bills are really turning into a pumpkin. And
and Ryan, not only that, and you know, kind of the wall they've hit, the fact that belly of their defense kind of exposed, maybe a good game for some Tyler Conklin props. Let's just talk about this is a third road game for the Bills. Like that is a very strong take of fading teams on their third road game.
Yep, them in Cleveland this week.
And this is a ultimate get up spot for the Jets. You know, I think it's less about, hey, Robert Saleh's gone, it was such a nightmare. It's more just like, holy shit, we're going to be held accountable. And you know, it's like you had a substitute teacher for 2.5 years and now a real teacher comes in. I think they're going to get up for this game. I think they match up decent enough. Yeah, like I don't know about the Jets after the AFC East division odds. I mean, the Jets win this game. They're like the favorite to win the division again. It's crazy.
I would say
which is like they just fired their head coach.
Yeah, the AFC East could be one of the more hilarious division races. I mean, you look at that division.
8-9 could win it.
Well, think about it this way: everyone's like the AFC is so much better, but then you look at the two division, look at the two conferences. Should the AFC even be favored over the NFC in the Super Bowl right now?
Well, because it'll probably be Mahomes with some not great stats, and they'll just win. So yeah.
Yeah. What was the spread last year? 2.
What? Yeah, they were favored by 2.
Yeah. I mean, so what other team in the AFC is favored over an NFC team though?
Yeah, no, it's a weird. I mean, yeah, it's a weird season for sure. Everyone kind of looks like shit. Bills offense really struggled. He quote unquote didn't have a concussion, but probably had a concussion.
Oh, what do you mean didn't have a concussion? He definitely had. You saw his body bounce. He went limp for a second. Good,
yeah.
Good on him.
He did like even
he's
had a little
grown
bit of
ass
the
man, and he came back from that concussion really quickly. And that's what smelling salts used to be for, Sean.
Yeah,
wake up the brain. People get so upset about the concussions now.
They call it the fencing stance. If you're like this, I mean, I used to work, working on clip shows. I saw a lot of knockout videos. And
do you remember Tank Abbott?
Yes.
Do you remember when he knocked the shit out of someone and just like mocked him by walking around like with his arms stuck out straight?
We had a category of clips on ridiculousness called "Becoming an Action Figure," because like when you get really concussed, your body, it's just like you're a GI Joe with like stiff arms. And it was back when concussions were hilarious. I guess it's a different time, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just go watch some of the clips of football from like 15 years ago. And you're like, oh my goodness, they're committing murder out there.
John are in the chat saying, John are in the chat said Sean and Ryan agreeing on everything was nice. No trauma of my parents screaming and fighting at each other while I play my Game Boy in my room. Yeah, right. When we argue, sometimes the audience gets upset. Justin Steele chiming in with a little super chat here, $20 for a Saints money line. I don't know, Ryan. Can you get to the Saints money line? I appreciate the contrarian take by Justin, but I'm still on the Bucks, but I'll put it in for you, Justin.
It says here you're not supposed to take the 3.5.
That one there's like a couple spots, and this will be interesting when we pick our locks and dogs.
I would say I'm not a very good picker of Saints games.
I feel like I'm okay on the Saints. This is going to be interesting, Ryan. Time for the lock, dog, and tease. Brought to you by BetUS. SportsGamblingPodcast.com/BetUS. Use the promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. Kramer, do you want to continue to go first? Lock, dog, and tease.
Why wouldn't I?
I'm just asking. You are the leader in the clubhouse.
I've scraped my way to being profitable on the lock dog tease.
Let's
now.
go.
2 straight teases, 3 straight dogs.
I know there was
scraping.
I still have not hit an NFL tease. I was red hot in college teasing, but
I'm fine if you would like to.
This
go
has
first.
been a brutal year for NFL teases in general.
Would you like to go first?
I'll let you go first.
All right, lock number 1. God, this one's gonna feel foolish in hindsight, but give me Green Bay laying the 5. Feels like a smash spot to lock that one up.
Smash!
At lock number 2, I guess I guess I'm gonna just haven't been locking up the close your eyes special, but give me the Carolina Panthers +6, massive number. Dog. I think this is another small dog week for me. Jags should not be a dog in London. This is highly disrespectful. So we'll take a little +110. Jets +8.5.
Okay.
Broncos +8.5.
So the issue with teases has been these 6 and 7 point favorites that people usually rely on teasing down.
Long teasers are getting crushed too.
Well, because of how good 6 point dogs have been, to the point that dogs of 6 and more have gone 13-2-1 ATS. Of course, Browns are going to be in a rough spot, but
final leg of my teaser, and I'm realizing I've made a mistake. Also, no,
okay.
but I'm not gonna.
What's your mistake?
Well, I should put Detroit as my lock, and the close your eyes special I should leave off the lock because I've been leaving it off the lock window. So make that swap for me.
Okay, so you're replacing Carolina
with Detroit -3.
Okay.
Anyway, to finish my teaser, Jets +8.5, Denver +8.5, Jags +8. I'm going full Stanford Wong.
+8. All right. Ryan, you put me in a pickle here because I was relying on your Carolina lock so that I could take Carolina as the dog on the money line.
Oh, nice. All right.
Carolina Panthers +200 on the money line. For lock number 1,
I told you what, we're not seeing the board as well. What's going on?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh no, there's I'm just trying to decide. There's so many good locks.
Are you trying to figure out if you're doing Pittsburgh this week again?
I'm not doing Pittsburgh again. Maybe I should. They scared me a little bit. I like Tampa Bay a lot, but it's something. You know what? The New England +7 is very tempting. I'll be honest. Now, maybe is that getting too cute, Ryan?
No, I mean yes, but whatever.
You know what? I'm going to keep riding those big dogs. Give me New England +7 as a lock, and then my other lock, give me Detroit. Oh, you took Detroit.
Yeah, we can share a lock.
No, that's not good for mojo. Do I dare take Tampa Bay one more? I feel I'm trying to branch out for my teams. You know what? New York Jets, get up for that game. I love fading the teams in the third road spot. So give me the New York Jets +2.5. For my tees, give me New England up to 13. Give me let's see, Green Bay.
Teasing New England too. That's crazy.
Oh no, you know what? You're right. I'll put Green Bay +1. I'll do Giants +9.5.
Green Bay +1. You're all following. You're off.
Well, I'm not trying. I don't want to take any 6 point favorites.
Well, then you don't want to put Baltimore in there?
No, because they'll fuck that up. And then Denver +8.5. That is a disgusting tease that's gonna hit.
Denver or Jacksonville? I mean, Jacksonville catching 8 points in London is basically a mortal lock.
So I got 2 home dogs. It feels pretty sharp, Ryan. You got the Packers and the Lions.
Yeah.
We're close your eyes special lock, Ryan. We're not supposed to love it, so maybe you were influenced by his decision there. Should I be putting? Oh no, I got Carolina in the money line. So what do we? So Green Bay -5, Detroit -3.5, New England +7, Jets +2.5, and then it feels like.
I mean, I would say one of our 2 dog plays.
I think when in doubt we take Carolina because they are a close your eyes special, and you had them as your lock.
See what I did there? I manipulated the game.
6 moves ahead.
Yeah,
So circa million. Green Bay -5, Detroit -3.5, New England +7, Jets +2.5, Carolina +6. I do think I'm going to be playing a Panthers Pats money line parlay there. Little home dogs. Keep riding these big dogs have been barking in the National Football League. We got the prop show tomorrow. YouTube.com/sportsgamblingpodcast. Man, the box back in studio, back in the box. Appreciate everyone donating to mountainprojects.org, hitting that flood support button. Appreciate that. Appreciate everyone taking 5 seconds to give us 5 stars over on Spotify, climbing the charts, all thanks to you guys. And March Monday is back. Got a nice discount. Use promo code Monday on Monday. Get you hooked up with some gear. Doesn't get any better than that. And a pregame show, 9 a.m. kick from the studio here, West Coast time. VSiN live show. 8 to 11 local time in Vegas. If you're out in Vegas, always good time to say what's up after the show. Gets some late nights, getting pretty loose there. Anson Montez likes the Jets Giants money line parlay. Little New York. Yeah, I think Giants lose but cover. That is my official play.
Okay. So you don't like the money line parlay?
No, but I like that a guy is parlaying money lines.
You appreciate the spirit.
Yes, I do. And appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks for the super chats. You guys are awesome. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.